Hello, creators. Whoa. Is that just me? That you get? I don't know. Did you hear that?
Oh my gosh.
Did
Oh
you
yeah.
hear it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. Let me try to like push puberty down and give that another shot.
Oh, just blame it on the allergies. It's okay. I've been doing that all week.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to see you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode where every week we just help you grow and do better things, I guess, with your YouTube content, growing your channel, reaching more people, growing your business, and ultimately changing more lives. And today, what we want to talk about is how we do that with the different tools that we use to plan and organize and track our content and our video ideas. And what really happens a lot of the time is that, especially if you're listening to content like this, you listening to video creators and our podcast, maybe our emails and our videos and everything, it becomes really easy to be like, oh my gosh, Tim, well, like there's so many tips and so many things I have to remember and so many things I have to get right. And I just can't do it all. Like, or if I can do it all, I usually forget one thing, or these two things slip by me, and they just go unnoticed, and like, or I forget I'm uploading the video, and what happens at the end of it is it costs you views, and it costs you potential revenue, it costs you like time, and you end up publishing a video that doesn't perform as well as it otherwise could have if you had a process that actually reminded you of all the steps you need to take, all the tips you need to implement, and everything you need to do, so that every single video that you publish is you've done everything you can to make sure that this video performs to the best of its ability. And so rather than giving you, although we are going to give you, I guess, a whole bunch more tips and ideas and tools, and today what we want to do is talk through what some of those tools are, some of the systems that you should be putting in place, as well as some tips that will really help you succeed with every video that you publish from here on out, so you don't miss anything and you can capitalize on every opportunity where you're publishing a video, whether it be views, subscribers, revenue, or ranking for whatever you want. We want to make sure that we set you up for success with that here today. If you are here in the live stream, I want to thank Eric from Modern Day Tech for moderating today. As we go through this, guys, if you have any questions at all, please tag at Modern Day Tech, and Eric will be putting his, maybe his questions, but we'll be putting your questions in front of us here so that we can make sure we can. So tag at Modern Day Tech. And if you haven't checked out his channel yet, there's a link to it down in the show notes or in the description of this live stream. He's all about simplifying tech for your life. And so he does a lot of research. He tests a lot of these products, and he pulls his hair out and and really tries to figure out, how can I help you and your family make easier tech decisions using the technology for what it's meant to be, which is a tool, not just a cool gadget or a distraction. So, and he wants to really help you save money along the way. So you can he'll provide you discounts and links and promo codes and all that kind of stuff. So check out his channel linked up down below. And thank you, Eric, for hanging out here with us today as we go through this. And again, just tag him with your questions in the live chat, and he'll put them in front of us so we can answer as many of them as we can. Also, if you are someone who hangs out here pretty frequently, there's also another link there for you to apply to to join our moderation team. Eric does a great job. We've got a small team of people who are regularly, consistently showing up and taking your questions, serving you guys really well, and so that we can do our best to serve you guys here in the live stream. So if that's you, you're interested, you don't have to commit to every week. It's just like whenever there's an opening, you can see what the availability is and put your name next to it and just claim it whenever it works for your schedule. So if you're interested, there's a form in the description of this live stream. You can click on that, fill out a little application, and then Grace on my team will get back to you. She kind of manages that team of producers for this live stream and the podcast. So she'll be in touch with you then after that. So thank you guys for considering it. Before we dive into all the awesome content for you, I want to introduce you to, oh no, I forgot to do our little catch up. Sorry. Where did I do that? Let's do that again. Man,
Don't forget about us, Tim.
I forgot about you. I don't have you on my screen. I just have my notes on the screen.
I would like to give a shout out to Mr. M's senior community here in the chat, who says, wow, we have the whole crew here. It's a magical thing.
Yes, we do have the whole crew here, and it's been a while. I think Len and I were together
Yeah.
last week, and Delana, what's been going on with you? Give us a quick update.
Yeah, sorry I haven't been here, guys. It's just been like a whole series of events that have kept me from all different things each week, but I'm really excited to be here again. And yeah, I'm feeling really good. I'm like, what do I want to update you on? I'm so
Well, you got your floors
curious.
in,
Finally
and
got my floors done. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
all
That's
moved
been a whole
in
story.
your
We
house.
are all moved in. Still have now that we have our floors done, except for our guest room. Technically our guest room still needs to be done, but yeah, now that we have all of our floors done, we can actually start fully unpacking all of our boxes and going and buying furniture to put on the floors. I mean, we still bought the necessities, but we were waiting on the non-necessities to buy to put all the little trinkets and storage and stuff like that. So
Cool.
yeah, very exciting. I feel like my life is finally moving forward in this household.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Lennon? What's going on in your world?
Well, let's see. This weekend, I took my oldest daughter on a camping trip. It all started because she, on Friday, got kind of upset. Actually, on Thursday, and she knocked on my office door and was like, "Dad," it was like 9. She's like, "I just want you to know that I don't really." She's 7, by the way. "I don't really like you as much as I do Mom in the mornings." And I was like, "Okay, let's talk about it. What's going on?" "Well, you don't make breakfast for us anymore." And I was like, "Okay." So I loved that she was very candid, very open. And so she kind of went and we talked to my wife about it. And Jamie was like, "Well, sounds like you guys just maybe need to spend some time together." Cause we were really used to doing like dad-daughter dates and all these things. And that hasn't happened a ton because of the pandemic and all the way things have been. So I said, "Well, let's spend the day on Saturday together." And she said, "Well, maybe we can go on a camping trip." And so
Oh, wow.
I was like, "All right." So I got online, found us a little spot outside of town, um, found a good deal on Amazon for a 2-person tent, and we just went and rocked that thing. We had a blast. It was super fun. Got to do a little paddle boating and just have some really good
Cool.
father-daughter time. Really
So it's an
good.
overnight trip then.
Yeah, we did the whole deal. We heard like coyotes at like 6 a.m. And she's like, "I'm a little bit scared." I was like, "Yeah, I think we're okay. I think we'll make it." So yeah, pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I got a lot of feedback from last week's podcast episode, and mostly all supportive. You guys are messaging me, tweeting me, and sending emails just saying, "Tim, sounds like you're going through some pretty heavy stuff. You should just chill." And you're all right. Yes, and that's kind of what we talked
Oh,
about. And I appreciate you guys with that sentiment that you shared. And so this past week, I should say this past weekend, I I didn't do any work all day Saturday, and usually I like take Saturday off, but Sunday I'm kind of checking in on things again. But then even like last Friday, I don't know if you noticed, Len and Delana, but I didn't catch up on Slack because I was just on consultations all day. And I'm like, usually I'm like, oh, at least I got to get back to my team before I really shut things down. And I was like, nope, the team's going to have the wait. So I did catch up this morning, but went a few days without even checking in. And so it just felt good. Feel a little bit more rejuvenized. Rejuvenized, is that the right word? And looking forward to what taking a few weeks off will do. So
I'm not laughing at you.
I know. I look at the chat, the rolling with the Robins. Is that what you're
Yes.
looking at? Yeah.
Well, none of us are wearing denim today, and so Rolling with the Robins said, "So Tim has enforced a video creator's uniform and banned the denim."
Not ban it. I'm still secretly jealous I don't have any, but I don't care enough to go out and actually buy something. So
Yeah,
that'll change eventually.
he just enforced these rules because he's tired of feeling shamed about not having a denim jacket.
Let's see here. Before we dive into our content for today that Delana is going to be spearheading for us. Oh, by the way, I don't know. I was going to say, like, most people know who you guys are, right? Let me do that. By the way, in case you don't know who Lennon and Delana are, they're both strategists on my team, and Lennon does a lot of our community stuff as well as consultations and one-on-ones with creators, and Delana works a lot with our more ongoing clients and the people who are signing contracts and doing lots of big stuff with us. And so we're all three of us are doing strategy for people and helping people move forward. So if you don't know who they are, that's who they are.
Now you do.
Now you do. I always feel like I need to throw that in like close to the beginning of each episode, but I always forget because I know there's always new people. All right.
Yeah.
Before we dive into our content today that Delana will be spearheading for us, I'm going to introduce you guys to our creator spotlight. This is Jameson's Travels, and there's a link to his channel down in the show notes of this episode. He's a former U.S. Marine, and he talks a lot on his channel about military history, and he just shares his perspective and his opinion on it, adds commentary to other military documentaries and assumptions and facts and videos and things like that. And he's the type of creator that most creators look at him and be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing to grow so fast? So he started his channel earlier this year, and then he went through our course, 30 Days to a Better YouTube channel. And in April, he was doing around 100,000 views per month. But then only a few months later, by September, which is when this recording that you're going to watch is from our conversation this past September, he was doing 14 million views per month. He had just a few thousand subscribers in April. And then in September, he had, as of this recording right now, actually, so I guess it's November, he has 350,000 subscribers and is growing very, very rapidly with millions and millions of views. And so what we're going to do is jump right in the middle of a conversation I was having with him about, like, what did you do on your channel that see that kind of explosive growth? And I think it's going to be pretty interesting what he says here. Now, I just want to give you a heads up. My audio is a bit weird in the beginning of this conversation. I was recording this with him on the go, but forgive that. And for the next few minutes here, his audio sounds great. So, and that's the main thing you want to hear. But I want you to hear the advice that he shares with you guys about, here's what I did to go from 100,000 views a month to 14 million views a month in only a few months' time. So here he is.
What advice would you give to other creators? What did you do that just catapulted your growth and you saw that exponential growth just like really kick in over the past several months? What advice would you give other creators?
Well, I think the biggest thing was responding to what people are watching, right? So realizing that the viewers are the most important. So they're watching it, try to recreate that. And the second thing was, don't be boring. You know, how many long intros have I heard? And I watch my old videos and sometimes I go, that's boring. And so you need to get out of somewhat the vacuum. And I did get, I think what really changed, and I'm not saying this for your benefit, Tim, was I got the course. I can't remember what it was called, the recent one. And I was on the fence.
YouTube channel?
Yeah, I was on the fence with two different topics. And I got partially through it. And I go, okay, I need to stop with two different topics. So I just focused on one genre, niche, because it was too confusing. And people were coming for one thing. I was delivering something else. So I really tried to pay attention, you know, during Corona, pay attention to what people are watching and why they're watching it. And just focus on, you know, what people want to see. And if they're responding well to it. And I did obsess over the analytics. But, you know, I made sure there was no long, boring intro, B-roll, coffee. I don't care why I'm not here, because they may care after they watch a few, but they're not going to care in the beginning, because now about 85% are new viewers. So yeah, I really tried to think of what's going to keep someone entertained, because after watching some old movies and watching new movies, there's a scene change, a switch or something about every 10 or 15 seconds. So you got to not be boring is what I realized.
One of the things I think you do really well too is that you were like, hey, I tried doing the keyword research, which is a lot of creators do. And I realized it wasn't helping me any. And so now you're like, I am my own SEO guy. Like I do that myself. Tell me about what that means.
Yeah. So I had the TubeBuddy freebie and the vidIQ. You know, I put the keywords in that made sense, but I realized that obviously you got to get someone to click on it and you got to get them to start watching it, because I think 88% of my content, you know, the 12, 13 million views comes from YouTube recommending it. And I don't have like the content that YouTube wants to love, but the people want to watch it. So I would say it's nothing to do with YouTube. It's just people go, okay, this guy's getting to the point, which in the beginning was a big thing. The guy goes, I like your videos because you get to the point. There's no long, they don't care about the boring intro. They don't care about click subscribe. I never asked anybody to subscribe. I never asked somebody to like. I never asked somebody to do anything to the topic. And I said, thanks for watching. Done. And they're going to subscribe. They're going to subscribe. They're going to like. They're going to dislike. So with respect to the SEO, my point was, you know, they're going to see it on their phone. And if people watch it enough, YouTube's going to test case it, and they've got a sample size, which is your subscribers. They're going to test case it more. And it's going to be organic. You know, it's not going to be, you can do all the SEO in the world, because I've did it before. And it doesn't matter, because YouTube's got the transcription of what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And if what you said is great, but people don't watch what you said, you got nothing.
That's right. So you're squarely following that principle we teach, which is optimized for humans, not for robots.
Yeah, I got, you know, after I did 14 million views, I bought the two tools that I never bought, both companies, and the SEO was me. So now I realize every keyword they recommend is me, like recommending in the videos next to it are my videos. So I realized the good thing was, you know, everyone knows what to put into the SEO, but there's not going to be one word that's going to go, aha, you found it. Unless you've got something that's the 0.01% where you're talking about how to fix something no one's fixed on YouTube, which is probably near impossible.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would say the title is obviously, but people are going to click off quick if they get into it. And I was guilty of it. You got terrible audio, and you start doing the typical YouTuber thing where you start for 10 minutes, and then you got the Fiverr commercial. Now, being a YouTuber, that drives me insane. Yeah. Because, you know, there's some people I watch with I'll skip through the first 2 minutes. There's a minute of content in 10 minutes, and it's not helping them because I skip through everything just to get to the minute of content.
Right. Yeah.
So
you're like, optimize your content for people, optimize your titles and your thumbnails, because your titles do tease a good story. It's enticing. You're like, oh, what is that? What are those things? All around like military things. And so it's a good title, good thumbnail. You get right into the content right away. And you're really doing a good job at just like focusing on like, how do we serve these people the best that we can?
I love that, guys. There's so much good stuff in there. And if I was going to summarize it down, it kind of comes down to 3 points, I think is what he said. Number one, he says, like, don't be boring. Like, optimize for people, not for robots. He's like, what's going to hold someone's attention? I don't know if you heard that in his story, but it's 100% focused on get to the point for those first-time viewers. Yes, you have regular community people who are like returning viewers who are going to come back, and they're going to watch regardless what the title and thumbnail is, and they're going to want to know some of the personal stuff. But when you're in the growth phase of your channel, it's really important that you create content that, you know, a first-time viewer who doesn't know who you are and frankly doesn't care yet about you and your brand and your videos, you really got to optimize for that person. And so that's what he's doing. Number two, as I heard, he's saying like, Tim, I just had to learn a bunch. He went through our course, 30 Days to a Better YouTube Channel. This recording was done after we had a one-on-one consultation together. He mentioned that he watches his analytics. He mentioned that he's imitating what he sees in other successful programs and videos, and even on television in some sense. So he's learning and he's applying what he learns, which is one of my biggest fears for, you know, people who listen to this podcast episode and watch our videos and things. Like, guys, we give away a lot of good content for free. And unfortunately, like, people don't always do it until they pay us, which I'm fine with, I guess, but I'm kind of like, we're giving you information for free. And there's a lot of people who then come to me like, well, my channel's still not working. I'm like, oh, and they're like, I heard you talk about this. I heard you talk about that. And like, well, it doesn't look like you're doing those things. No, I didn't start doing those things. Well, okay, let's start there. So, and then the third thing I heard him say is that and these are my words, not his. It just seems like what he overall was describing is you're going to go from 100,000 views a month to 14 million views a month in only a few months' time, going from a few thousand subscribers to 350,000 subscribers. It really comes down to the basics. I know when we hear growth stories like that, we get really excited because like, oh, there's this creator has some sort of missing secret that I haven't heard before, or they found some sort of magic button that like I've been searching for, but it's not any of those things. It's just like, just like athletics or music or a lot of other industries, success comes down to learning the basics and mastering them and doing them well. And that's what he was really poking at. He's like, hey, Tim, I figured out who my audience was, went through your course, 30 Days to Better YouTube channel, figured out who I needed to be speaking to. That really helped me niche down and really hone my content for that first time viewer. And he does a lot of these things, and he got that kind of growth. So if you want to go through that same exact course that Jameson did to set up and optimize his channel for that kind of growth, you can go to videocreators.com/30days, 30days, and you can register and get started right away. We're going to teach you everything that you need to know about how do we set up our channel to make it easy for first-time viewers to really gravitate towards what we're doing and really love our content and quickly understand what we're all about, and what are some techniques you can do inside your actual video content to hold their attention, as well as get them to click and watch more, how do you integrate sales into that content, as well as a whole lot of other things. Every day in that course is going to give you one, it's going to give you a teaching, something you need to know about your channel, about growth and how it works on YouTube. Then number two, you're going to get assignments, like practical things to do on your channel that very day, right then and there. It's not like here's some good information about how you should think about your channel. Good luck, right? It's very practical. Do this thing, that thing, step 1, 2, 3, and 4 on your channel before you move on to the next lesson. And then third, and every day you're going to get links to further resources in case you want to dive in and really learn more, not just resources from us, but resources across the web and other books and other creators who have really helpful insights on these things, or articles that really help you take it to the next level. So it's not staggered over 30 days. Once you register, you get access to the full entire course all at once, so you can binge it if you'd like. But I do recommend just taking your time, actually do the assignment so you get the benefit and the reward of it, like Jameson did. So you go to videocreators.com/30days to get registered and start today. Let's see. Delina, one of the things that happens is people go through a course like 30 Days to Better YouTube channel is they come out on the other side of that with like their mind blown, and they're like, oh my gosh, there's so many different things I could be doing on my channel and things to remember with titles and thumbnails and how to craft the content and different signals I need to integrate into the content itself to make it easier for people to know, like, and trust me, and all those things. And it's easy to forget a lot of those things unless we publish content that doesn't really perform as well as it otherwise could have. So what do you got here for us today to help us overcome all of that so we can get as much traction on our videos as possible?
Yeah, I think that this is a really important topic because as we begin to learn new strategies and we want to implement new things on our channel, especially whenever we have an influx of information all at once, it can kind of be like, it can, first of all, be hard to remember all of the little details of how I need to close my videos and how I need to present my titles and thumbnails, and even just little things like the fact that I need to, like, what those strategies mean. Okay, I need to present my titles and thumbnails this certain way. So that means that I need to take particular photos for my titles and thumbnails, which means that I have to remember to take those photos whenever I'm actually creating the content, right? And so it's all of those, it's like we have to track how we're translating these new things that we're learning into actual steps and how it applies to our content. And so this is where I feel this topic is so important, just to keep you on track so that things, as you said before, Tim, don't fall through the cracks. One thing that I do want to keep in mind, though, as we move into this topic, though, is that there are a lot of variables depending on the type of content that you create here. So I'm going to give a lot of very practical suggestions, and we have 5 different main points here. But in the way that you actually start to build those outlines may change a little bit from channel to channel. So just keep that in mind. For example, Tim does not need to remember to shoot glam shots of his makeup look because he's not a beauty channel,
Especially
right?
not today.
Especially
my
not
beard's
today.
starting to look like Lennon's. I'm going to be competing with him soon if I let this go too long.
So little steps.
I dare you. Let's go.
One time my husband had his beard like all the way down to here, and
Like 3 inches, 4 inches.
yeah, it was
Wow.
pretty long. Yeah, he can grow a pretty good beard. But he hates it. He did it because I liked it, but he was like, no, I can't do this for very long. All right. So the first thing that I think is really, really important in just getting you set up in having a content creation process so that you remember all these little strategies and the steps that go with these strategies is to pick a designated platform and make it work for you. And what I mean by that is there are a million different planning platforms out there. There is Trello, there's Monday.com, there's ClickUp, there's Asana, there's Notion. Actually, somebody in the comments mentioned Notion earlier. To me, I think that platform matters so much. And but at the end of the day, you need to make the platform work for you. If you're just starting out, just pick a platform and start working with it. Go ahead.
I did put a link in the show notes, and also for you guys who are on the live stream here, to ClickUp, which is the one we just started recently using. I like Trello. Trello is free, and these are all project management tools that you can use, like to put these processes in place that Delaney's going to walk you through. And we've been using Trello for years, and we like it. Started feeling a little bit limited and started getting a little frustrated with some things. And so we've more recently switched to ClickUp. So if you want to check it out and create it's free, and we're not sponsored. I'm just telling you that's who we use. There's a link down in the show notes below that will, you can sign up and get a free account there and check it out, see if it's right for you or not. But it is like Trello, but on steroids, almost too much so in some regard. It's like
it's
way
so
too much to learn all at once. But after you learn it, you're like, oh my gosh, this thing's so powerful.
Well, and that's the thing that I think that you have to keep in mind whenever it comes to picking a platform is if you're picking a project management tool or platform for the first time, keep in mind that the ones that are easiest to set up are usually the ones that eventually have the most limits as you grow. Because that you get in, they're really easy to understand, but then you start hitting walls as you want to start getting more complex with the content. However, if you pick a platform that's a little bit harder to understand right when you're getting into it, like if you feel a little bit confused, that's usually a good sign that, okay, there's a lot more that I can do with this and I can fully optimize it for me and my needs. So that's just something that I would keep in mind. Oh, History Treehouse mentioned Evernote as well, which Tim, you use that, right?
Evernote mostly for note tracking, although ClickUp now has notes ingrained, like its own notes product
Docs,
inside of ClickUp. And I've been, it has docs, but also has notes. And so notes more and more actually. So sorry, Evernote, but it's just nice to have it all in one spot.
Yeah. So I actually highly recommend ClickUp as well. I've used Trello. I've used Monday.com. I played around with Asana a little bit. I haven't played with Notion at all, which Lennon has, I believe. And I do highly recommend ClickUp because so far, in comparison to all the ones that I've used, Tim's right. It's like you can literally do anything in this. You can really have it all in one place. But I'd like to hear Lennon's thoughts on Notion in terms of a platform.
Well, interestingly enough, if you're a Notion user, ClickUp makes sense because the way that it connects things and the way that a lot of the text can be drug around and moved really seamlessly is the same way that Notion works, which is why I like Notion.
Nice.
Notion feels very like this, like you can tie everything together, use links to like really put things in order. It's a bit more like you can build your own version of whatever you want, which I do like because I'm able to make it more my own vibe. But so I have all video creators stuff in ClickUp and then all my personal life in Notion. But I got to be honest, I'm like, I might just go to ClickUp for all of that.
I'm telling you, you guys know, if you guys are listeners of the podcast / live stream, then you know that I've talked about Monday.com again and again and again. And now we've moved over to ClickUp, and ClickUp I think is even better, partially because I think it's just more established than Monday.com. But anyways, all these project management tools, it really, I don't want to say it doesn't matter which one you pick, because obviously we all have opinions here. But either way, if you're just getting started and you feel like you're just not good with the project management, they will have, you know, people that you can reach out to help you set it up for your individual needs, no matter which platform you choose. But definitely get a platform, and I highly recommend getting one where you can have pretty much everything in one space, so that, again, you don't, because what you don't want to do is have like, okay, your video ideas in a notepad on your iPhone or slash computer, because they connect. And then you kind of have all of your publishing schedule in ClickUp or something like that. It's really easiest if you have it all in one place, so that you can kind of just move everything around. And that's where I feel the first step really starts, is just having a single place where you can start to operate out of and set up your systems, checklists, processes, everything in between.
I think the main thing to keep in mind is that you need a system a platform that works for you. I'm looking at the chat here in the live stream, and some people are like, oh, I use Post-it notes, and what was the other one? And Susan Taylor Brown is like, I stink at those planning tools. It makes me think of all my years in corporate, and I turn tail and run away. And oh yeah, and they use a different other paper and thing. I think the point is you need to have a good organization system that works for you. If you start seeing a breakdown in your system, though, where it's like, I forgot to shoot the thumbnail before I hit record, or I forgot to, or something's just not working, then don't stick with that. That was the problem that we had with Trello for years, is we really love Trello because it's simple, it's easy to explain, people pick up on it pretty quickly. But we were missing too many things. As our business becomes more and more, I don't know if complex is the right word, although that is very accurate, but like intertwined, it was a little too rigid to just have one board for different things. And so we needed things to kind of interact with each other better. And so that's part of why we're moving to ClickUp. But yeah, don't get stuck on the platform just because it's what makes sense for you, but it does need to make sense for you too, I guess what I'm saying. Like, that balance. Oh yeah, Miro board too is what GGO says. And we use Miro boards for our quarterly objectives and key results meeting. Unless ClickUp gets that, do you think they will? I don't know.
They have something like a Miro board. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if it would be what we need, but yeah.
For you guys who don't know, it's just basically like a virtual Post-it note, like a wall of unlimited Post-it notes is basically what that is. So you can kind of do a lot of different things with that.
Yeah, but a lot of creators, and this is where it also comes down to, you know, you may kind of dump all of your ideas in, let's say, ClickUp or Trello or something like that. And then whenever you start planning the content, you plan it all on paper. There's going to be, even me, a lover of all these planning platforms, I have a stack of Post-it notes right here because I like to be able to write certain things down, especially if I'm having trouble focusing on one thing. I'll just write it down and be like, this is the 1 to 5 things that I just need to focus on today. And so that I can have them constantly in front of me and it's not virtual. So you guys are all going to find your balance of what you want to be physical and what you want to be virtual and how it works for you, but just starting to build out that system no matter where it is. And considering new things as your system grows and it starts needing more things, like as you learn new strategies and things that you need to incorporate. But within that platform or paper, however you want it, I would definitely have just a random area for just brain dumping. Just brain dump all of your ideas, no holds bar, just like anything, even if you think it's a dumb idea or you wonder if it's a good idea, just write it down and have a certain designated space for these ideas, because then first of all, you just want to get them all out of your head. The purpose of these platforms is to get as much out of your head and start to organize it so that you can make more room for more creativity and the things that actually matter. Because if we try to keep all these things in our head at once, then things just start to get confusing and things get lost. So get things out of your head, have a random place or have a place for designated for just brainstorming, and then create buckets. So this is tip number 3, create buckets for your content within your platform, or if you just have post-it notes. We here at Video Creators, we usually teach 3 main buckets for your content, and that's going to be discoverable, community, and sales content. So if you're using post-it notes, you can just write community and then stick it on the wall and start to put all your ideas underneath the community video. Do either of you guys want to briefly explain what the community and discoverable and sales?
Paper, rock, scissors for it, Lennon.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, one,
three.
2, 3. Shoot.
Ooh.
2 scissors. 1, 2.
Oh, one more time. Ready?
3,
1,
paper.
2.
2 papers.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
All right, Tim, it's all you.
We might be here a while. So the discoverable content is like when you're focusing that content on that very first time viewer. They don't know who you are. They've never watched you before. They're only clicking because that title and thumbnail teases a value or pitch the story or something that they really want to consume. Create some sort of tension in the brain that they're like, oh, what happens there? And they click for whatever that pitch is, not because they know who you are yet. And that video is intentionally crafted to get someone, that first time viewer, to watch and then hold their attention, and then not just give them the good information, but that video also needs to strategically get them to start feeling something, like an emotion, which is what they're really gonna help with the watch time, as well as make them more liberally subscribe and make them more likely to come back and watch more, because it wasn't just like I got good head information, but I kind of like this guy or this girl and kind of like what else is here. And so, and the only call to action in there is to get people to click and watch another video. The community content is, well, okay, we've got these new people coming into the channel from our discoverable videos. The community one is, now how do we grow the know, like, and trust factors with that new audience that's coming in? And so that could be usually like a more laid back type of video. You don't have to put like 100% into that one as much. It's more of a, like, you're going to publish that video and a week from now, it'll have passed through subscribers feed and no one's really watching it anymore. But that's okay, because it did what it's supposed to do, which is getting that first time audience to really start connecting with you on a deeper level. And the only call to action there is to get them to comment. So the first ask is watch more. The second ask now is to let's engage a little bit. And then the last one is sales content, which is, okay, you brought people into discoverable and you really help them become a part of your community, grow the know, like, and trust factors with the community content. And now you're saying like, hey, here's this value that we offer to you that you can buy. It's not a commercial, but it, like, for us, it would be like, hey, don't do sub for sub, because it says it like literally right in YouTube's terms of service that sub for sub is grounds for termination. But if you want to grow your channel, well, we put together this free guide for you. You can click it right here and go download it for free. It's going to walk you through a 6-step process about what you need to do, right? And it's a literal, like, take 2-3 minutes, maybe even, to like really pitch this thing and sell it. Maybe 3 might be a little bit much, depending on what it is, but like at least a minute or 2. And the only call to action is click the link down below, buy, download, sign up, register, whatever. And so what we're doing with that strategy is basically the same thing you're likely already doing with your email strategy, for example, which is you have the free lead magnet that gets people in. Then you have the nurturing sequence that grows the know, like, and trust factors, introduces them to you and your brand, which you're all about. And then maybe about email like 5 or 6, maybe now you're kind of pitching the sale. So we're taking that same customer journey and just applying it to our YouTube channel to help new viewers take that journey to reach a sale, rather than being like, hey, you just found us. Now the goal of this video is to get you to buy something, right? It's very rarely will people actually do that. So it's, in fact, 30 Days to Better YouTube channel, that course I pitched earlier, will spend several days. I think, I don't remember how many days, but I know it takes several days to walk you through that process in detail on your channel. So you can find out more about it there if you'd like.
Yeah. So whenever you go into planning your process or planning, video ideation, things like that, and you're trying to figure out where these videos go, rather than just having them all kind of in one line or on one page or something like that, then you can actually start to drop it into buckets. So every time that you have a video idea, what do I want this video to be? Do I want it to be a discoverable video to reach a new audience, get them to know who I am, turn them into subscribers, things like that? Do I want it to is the purpose of this video just to build a stronger relationship with my community? Because if every video tries to have the same goal, then it's going to fail. Can fail, I should say, at doing any of those very strongly. And so whenever we start to have an idea, we can now drop it into buckets of discoverable community and sales. But also what I would recommend within that is keep in mind the different areas of your target audience. Because say that we have a crafting channel, for example, where, okay, you want to do a discoverable video. Do you want it to, you can have different buckets in terms of like the overall topic matter, in terms of, let's say, crafting tools or crafting techniques. You can kind of break them down on that level, but then you can also break it down by your audience's skill set. So you'll have like, oh, this video is going to be for somebody who's just beginning in crafting, or this video is going to be just an ideation for intermediate, just going to give them ideas and inspiration and things like that. So you're kind of breaking it down into sub purposes of the video. So kind of have the overarching discoverable community and sales, but then within that, who is this video for? Is it for the experienced crafter? Is it for the beginner crafter? Is it somewhere in the middle? They maybe just need inspiration, or this isn't necessarily an advanced technique, but it's for but it's not also a beginner technique, things like that. You can also have kind of buckets within the discoverable community and sales buckets to help you further organize your content and make sure that you have a good balance of like, oh, I'm not just doing all discoverable content and not doing any community content, to where I'm not building a deeper relationship with my audience. Or you can also manage, am I doing too many videos on just product techniques and I need to do some more videos on the crafting tools or something like that. So love that Delana has crafting on the brain. I've been working with a lot of crafting channels these past couple months. So yeah, it's one of the first things that came to mind, including you, Ingrid. Ingrid Blackburn said that in the chat. All right, so we've got pick a platform, start building your system. Within that platform, make sure that you have a certain designated area that is not your buckets, but it's just for random brainstorming, dumping all of your ideas. And then you can go to that board, and now we're going to create buckets and start to put these random ideas that we've just jotted down throughout weeks, months, years. And we can just designate time to sit down and now put that content into these buckets that we've created. So then the fourth tip that I have for you is now, and this is a question that I actually get from creators all the time, especially as they start learning how to further engage their audience within their video structure, like how to actually script their content, how to plan, how the video flows from one thing to the next. And this is a question that I get all the time. It's basically like, do you have an outline that you can give us that can kind of walk through it? And this is where it does all those variables kind of come into play. There's way too many variables across all different niches of how your content's going to flow from one thing to the next. But I can give you a general outline. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is to start to build your outline out of that. So the first thing is going to be, so what I want you to do is, wherever you do this, pen on paper or hands to keyboard, however you're planning your process, make an area for your hook. Like the first thing that you need to do is to hook your audience. So how are you going to open the video? So make an area for the hook. And then you can write, so you're basically building out a template that you can now go in and plug any script, any video that you plan, you just plug it into this template every time so that you never forget certain areas of your video that you need to remember. So plan for a hook, how you're going to open the video, and then your branded intro. should come after that if you have one. And then your personal introduction, so how you introduce yourself after you've already hooked the audience. And then your content. Now, within your content, this is where you need to start to get really, really nitty gritty of planning your audio and your visual and how those are going to correlate with each other. And what I would recommend you do is to actually think of like a Google spreadsheet, I guess. Just kind of get one of those where you have two columns and you have the audio on one side and then the visual on the other. And you can actually plan line by line and shot by shot what visual you want to go with certain audio. So you're actually, what I want all of this to do is for you to fully think through your entire video before you actually go and film it. Because then whenever you go to film this video, not only is it going to be easier for you to film, I shouldn't say easier. There's probably a lot of variables there. But there's going to be less resistance in trying to figure out, oh, what do I need to film next? You're actually fully imagining your entire video. And that could change as you actually get into the video. You could make small tweaks here and there, but you kind of have a default script template to work off of. And you've planned all the audio and the visual and how they're going to correlate. If it changes, it changes. But the point here, let me go to the last one and then I'll kind of come back. So then you want to plan your ending call to action. So how you're actually going to end the video. So you can have all of these areas within your script and then just start to plug all of the individual scripts in between those areas. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it from that. Do you guys have anything to add there?
No, it sounds like what you're saying is create a template that every single time you go through it, you're just running through it so you don't forget anything.
Yes.
And I think the value of this is that it's easy, especially for people like me and maybe creative people in general who are like, oh, I got this. I remember everything. I do this all the time. And it's more accurately like, I forget something all the time.
Yes.
And it's good to have that process, that checklist or whatever you want to do with this written out so that every time you shoot a video, you're just practicing that discipline of checking every single box every time you go through the process. So you don't miss anything. And eventually maybe over time is like, I'm not missing anything. There's only 3 things on this list. I got it. Right. But from the very beginning, from planning content and the ideation process all the way through to publishing, there's a lot of steps in there, and it can be easy to miss and just kind of go off the cuff rather than actually do something strategically and intentionally.
Yeah. And so that kind of brings in my 5th point, which is going to be have pre-created checklists within this template for you.
I set you up perfectly.
You did. Yeah, because whenever most creators here, we are not just creating content for YouTube, but we also maybe cut down that content and we put it on Facebook. And we want to make sure that we, as we've mentioned several times already, we want to make sure that we capture certain images for the title and the thumbnail. Well, not for the title, but for the thumbnail. And we want to make sure that we get certain shots if we're going to cut it down into maybe like an Instagram reel or a TikTok video or something like that, because all those platforms are going to be a little bit different and have different needs, and their algorithms are going to work a little bit differently. And so having a pre-created checklist, and this is one of the things that I love in ClickUp, is that you can create templates. And so every time you have a new idea, you can just insert a template and it'll like automate an entire checklist for you, so that it's like, but you can do this just with like pen and paper or whatever. You're just going to have subcategories where it's like, okay, if I need to shoot Instagram content, what photos do I need to get? What particular photos do I need to get for this Instagram post that's going to correlate with my YouTube video, if we're planning it that way. And so you're basically just getting really, really nitty gritty. Yeah, Keto Twins. It's so much to remember. YouTubers need to be good at so many things. It's crazy. And this is where I want this process to help you guys like remove a lot of that out of your brain. Like stop trying to remember everything. have templates set up so that it's like, oh, okay, I still need to get that photo for my Instagram post. Oh, I still need to shoot a photo for my thumbnail. That way nothing falls through the cracks, and every single time you post a video, it has its best chance. So yeah, I would recommend. Now, those checklists are going to look a little bit different depending on what platforms you're on and what platforms you're seriously pursuing outside of YouTube, as well as who your audience is and what certain visuals and things are going to resonate with them within thumbnails and things like that. But yeah, start building out a checklist that just applies to every single video that you post. And if some of those items on the checklist don't always apply, then that's okay. You can just ignore them for that video, but build out every single thing that you find yourself forgetting or not doing as well as you think you could have, then make a checklist for it and make sure that you're thinking about it every time you write that entire script. It could be even something as simple as primal branding elements. Okay, where did I use my lexicon in this video? Oh, I didn't use my lexicon. How can I go back through this script and insert some of my lexicon within this video? And little thing, did I incorporate my creation story in areas where I could have? You know, if not, then go back through. How can I insert some of my creation story into this video? So, because that's like all of the things that we teach all throughout 30 days, it is so much to remember. You're not going to remember all of it. Some of you maybe do, and I wish I was you, but
I don't. That primal branding stuff, I forget all the time because you always feel like you're talking to people. Like when I talk to the camera, I default to talking to people who are already in my existing community, people that we already know. And it's hard for me to get out of that mindset. Like, oh no, I got to remember it's the first time viewers never heard of us before, and intentionally start to incorporate those primal branding elements. I forget that all the time.
Yep. If you guys aren't familiar with primal branding elements, I would definitely do some research on it, but it's also something that we teach in 30 Days to a Better YouTube channel. So yeah, that was my 5th tip, is just starting to build out your pre-created checklist that you can plug into every single video to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks.
Let's jump into some of these questions here. You guys have been asking some good ones. We have to start with History Treehouse first, who asks, I have some denim. I have some denim in my fabric stash. Anyone else? We can send it to Tim and he can have someone make it into a patchwork jacket. My wife does like to sew. I'm not putting that on her though. I can feel like this is going to be should I like just not get the denim jacket so we can just stretch this thing out as long as possible? All right. I think as soon as I get it, everyone's going to be like, "Aw, he got it." Now what?
No,
I don't know.
That's up to you. How long do you want to put up with this?
I think it's kind of fun, actually. The Timber Frame guy asks, what are some tips for starting and tracking a video series, like a house build, for example? You have any tips for that?
Ooh, I think the same principles apply. You're going to need, so I think for you, it's going to be really, really heavy on the visual element of making sure that you're showing all of these. So what I would have a template, like I again, highly recommend a Google spreadsheet or something like that, to where every line and tip that you plan, you're also planning ahead the visual element that needs to be partnered with that. I think that's going to be really important for you. But then for house building, I also think that there's a big opportunity for stories there. So I would incorporate some of the storytelling structures. Do you want to briefly go over the storytelling structure, Tim?
I'll do it really fast because we got a few other questions here.
Yeah.
Answer these 7 questions in for your upcoming videos. So for your content before you hit record. So number 1, who's the character? Number 2, what do they want? Number 3, why can't they have what they want? Number 4, what's at stake if they don't get what they want? Number 5, who or what comes along and helps the character do what they couldn't do before? Number 6, how does the character ultimately get what they want? And number 7, how is the character transformed by this process? So there's a lot that goes into each of those. but that's kind of the basic structure of crafting content that'll tell a good story and hold someone's attention.
Yeah, I would plug that into your template as well. But yep, that's.
So we got Heritage and Model Rail asks, can I use the tools to schedule my videos? Andrew asks that. Lennon, do you want to talk about scheduling videos?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really about, you can't see it here. Like, so my process is there's like a scripting version, filming, editing, thumbnail, then publish. And so within each of those buckets, like the post-it or whatever it is kind of moves to the next phase. So I always know where each piece of content sort of is in the process. And so within each of those, there's its own individual process. And the only reason that I like to have those checklists in place is because, most of the time, I think when people are making content, they may be working on a number of videos simultaneously. So it's a lot easier to get lost on what to do next. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to scheduling the content, there's not necessarily, YouTube actually makes it really simple to schedule it inside their own platform. And so you can just set all that up. So my thumbnail days and my scheduling days are the same as of recent. That's a change that I'm trying to make. So I know that once I make the thumbnail and finish it, then I'm immediately putting it in to try and schedule as well. So, I think it's just it's all, again, I was saying in the chat, I love seeing these comments because it's a reminder of how individualized our brains are and how unique we all are in our processes. What we're saying here is not a one size fits all by any stretch. It's really, somebody said you're making this too difficult. Yeah, maybe for you, that's absolutely correct. And then for others, it's like, yeah, but I also have to think about my family, and I also have to think about this job, and I also have to think about this other thing. And I also have, when we have all these things, we need those processes. And sometimes it's like, well, I want to hire a team. So having that process is really important. So just wherever you're at, I would always encourage you to make it as simple for you as possible. Mm-hmm. That's the goal of these processes, is actually to make it feel simpler so you can think less and take action on more, because you'd be surprised at how much energy we burn by forgetting something or always having to rack our brain saying, did I do that thing? I'm not sure if I remembered that. That's where this stuff comes in so incredibly handy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Little Mountain Life asks, what would be a good checklist of things a creator should do to prepare for the course or one-on-one consultations? Oh, okay. I thought they were asking for their own course. Sounds like they're asking for ours. So, Lennon, Delana, anything that you guys think they should prepare for before taking 30 days or a consult?
As far as 30 days goes, I think wherever you're at, you're ready. I wouldn't. That is your checklist as far as I think. And then as far as like jumping in a consult, the main thing for me is there's two approaches that I'll see when people come in consults with me. One, they're in a planning stage and they want help getting through that planning and making sure that they're putting the plan together in a way that makes sense, that they're thinking about the right things. And that's a great time to jump in a consult. The other side of that is they've now done the work for a while, and they're just now in a zone where they're spinning their wheels, and they're like, okay, I'm not really sure what to do next to change to try and get some new traction or some new ideas, a new thought process. And that's where a consult can be incredibly valuable as well. And you can ask anybody in here that's taken one with me. At the end of it, often people will say, should we do this again in like a couple of weeks? I'm like, no, go do more work and we'll get together again in maybe like 6 weeks to a couple months. Like I think the more data we have to look at, the more stuff that we can look at and see what you've done, the better when you're in a like execution versus a planning stage.
Yeah. Cool. We got a question from Sketch My Story, who's a channel member. Thank you. Sketch My Story. It says, is there a video that you have that shows examples of how to do the 7 storytelling questions? Absolutely. In fact, I got a whole playlist about it, which I will put here in the chat for you. And those of you guys who are listening to the podcast later, you'll find that playlist down in the show notes of this episode. And the one in there that's particular to these 7 steps is the third, as of right now, is the third video in that playlist called Steal Hollywood Stories, Telling Secrets for Massive Engagement. And then also the next one, How to Tell an Amazing Story Every Time. Each of those 2 videos will go in more depth about those 7 questions and how they work and how to use them. We also dive into that stuff a lot deeper. We spent actually a few weeks on it inside Video Labs, but if you want some content about it, you can click on that link right there. We have a question from, let's see here. Oh, also the Timber Frame guy who asked, are live streams a good way to complement videos that I publish? Does YouTube push live streams to people other than current subscribers? I put live streaming squarely in the community bucket. I think it's a great tool for engaging your existing audience. It's a little bit, I mean, they can be discoverable. A lot of people do them that way. You just have to make sure that the value of the live stream is very consumable for someone who's not there for you. And you can certainly do that. But for most people, live streams are a very solid engagement piece for their existing community. So that's usually where we put that one anyway. See, we have Scott Fitzger who asked, could you provide an example or technique that develops the relationship for the fan bucket? Do either one of you guys have an example that comes to mind for that community?
I think it depends on what your audience. I know that every creator loves to hear it depends, but it does depend on what your topic is and what your audience is. Like for a food channel, for example, what I eat in a day is a community video, because probably not a lot of people who don't know that person are going to care too much about what that person eats in a day. There already has to be some sort of existing transaction that has happened that person cares about what that person's doing, right? It could just be you sitting down and telling a little bit of your story on why you started this channel or something like that. You just telling kind of like a personal story to connect with your audience more in a way that would connect with them, So I would say it could look a lot of different ways, but it's just going to depend a little bit on who your audience is and what value you offer.
I think it still needs to be aligned with the value proposition of the channel, the target audience. So if I sat down video creators and be like, here's what I'm eating today, guys. Some of you guys would be like, what? But if it's more like, hey guys, here's how I do my camera setup, or look, here's my studio. Like most people don't care about my studio, but if I give my community a tour of here's my office and my studio space, those people will care about that. So it's just kind of like more behind the scenes type of thing.
Yeah.
And then we got one more question here from Masquak. Did I say that right?
Schwak.
Looking at my analytics, my vids get a great amount of views at launch, but then don't gain any views over time. Is this something I should be tracking? And what does it mean? Would you put that in their process somewhere, Delana?
Of tracking the videos?
Yeah, and then evaluating it?
Yeah, I would most of what I talked about here was kind of like leading up to tracking, planning your ideas, things like that. But what I would do, Mick Schwack, he's probably enjoying us saying this, is I would start putting your videos into groups. So if you're testing something, like if you're changing certain thumbnails, say that you started using a blue background on your thumbnails or something like that, then take all of those thumbnails, put them into a group and track them later down the road. Like once, maybe like put them all into a group and check them just like 1 month later and see what's not working here. Okay, it looks like the blue thumbnails aren't performing as well as my previous thumbnails were, or they're performing better. So either let me try another color or let me try something else. Okay, if I do blue thumbnails with my face in it, does that perform better than not with my face in it? Little things like that. You can do the same thing with your content creation, like the actual content of the video. So if I put a story into it, does that typically garner more average percentage viewed than having a non-story? And one of the things that I would particularly look for in your case, where you're kind of getting a great amount of views starting off and then it just kind of goes away. For some channels, that's really, really normal. But that also could be a sign of that you're only really engaging your subscribers starting off and a few non-subscribers, and you're not really garnering much attention from people outside of your usual audience. And so you release a video, all the people who would usually watch it, and then it just kind of goes back down. And so what I would particularly track is your non-subscribed viewership, and is that non-subscribed viewership going up, and how all of those metrics, your impressions, click-through rate, your average percentage viewed, things like that, would what helps the most to increase with those metrics with non-subscribers. And using groups to compare, and make sure that you look at it a little bit later, like maybe like once a month. Don't look at it only right after you've released the video or anything like that.
Yeah. I'm looking at our video from last Thursday on our channel, and it's like a 45-minute video. It is the ultimate guide to making money on YouTube with brand deals. And this is a guy who does hundreds of thousands of dollars of brand deals, I think a month, but probably not. Best Buy, Target, Levi's, like big brands, and he gives you like A to B every single little freaking detail about how this stuff works. And like it's like a master. Like I could have charged maybe a couple $100 for access to this material, but instead we put it on YouTube for free. And I'm looking at it, and it's like 8 out of our last 10 videos. And I'm like, okay, like we should probably, that's part of our process, is like, let's evaluate that. Can we put a different thumbnail on it? Can we improve that title in some way? And because I think this, once you get into that content, it is rock solid. There is no other information about it on the internet that I'm aware of that's similar to that just walks it through that kind of process for free. So I think that's part of our process. What we're saying is like, yes, put the evaluation as part of the process, and update and tweak and change things and learn. As Jameson said, like I couldn't change everything, but I could do it better in the next one.
Yeah.
And so steps over time that make a big difference. We are wrapping up with our power tip of the week. Kind of dropped the quote of the week because that was a little bit more of a, actually, no, let's say it that way. Let's wrap up with our power tip of the week. Delana, what is the tip that you're going to leave everyone with that's going to help them really blow up here on YouTube?
Yeah, so one of the things that I have noticed a lot of creators struggle with is getting ahead on their content, so that they actually, like, you can have all the perfect templates and all of these tools and platforms and things like that. But one of the biggest things that they still struggle with is kind of living, what I call it is living paycheck to paycheck with your content, where it's just kind of like uploading a video, and then you kind of work all week to get that video filmed, edited, uploaded, and then it's on to the next video. And what that does, what I want you guys to be aware of, everyone's brain is different, but what I want you guys to be aware of is that sometimes if we don't have the wiggle room, it can affect our creativity or us really being able to do what we really want to do with that content, by putting ourselves, Adventures in the Dirt says, ugh, I've worked myself into that corner for sure. Yeah, so many creators do. It's so much to keep up with, which is why I want you guys to have templates and checklists and things that you can refer back to make sure that you're hitting everything. But my tip here, my power tip, is to plan backwards to get ahead. And this is gonna sound so backwards, which is the point, right? But what I want you to do is, okay, we are in middle of November, getting close to middle of November now. So what if we start planning for the end of January? Like, what's the video that we're going to upload on January 30th? And then start planning backwards and start filming and planning content. This is not going to be applicable to maybe everyone if you have super seasonal content, but even then, maybe you can film that seasonal content now and release it later, but start basically filming your videos backwards. So January 30th and then January 27th, and then just keep going backwards from there. So eventually the timeline that you're in right now, we're moving forward to December, and then you're also filming this content for January, and eventually those those timelines are going to meet in the middle, and then all of a sudden you'll be ahead on your content. So plan backwards to get ahead, and so that you can give yourself more wiggle room to do more creative things, to implement more strategies, everything in between. So yeah. And then the quote that I have that goes with that is, a clear-headed plan now prevents pain and regret later. And that is from Everything is Figureoutable. I feel like I had to use this book because I just finished it. So I had to get a quote from it. Cool. And then something else for you guys to think about, another quote from this book by Marie Forleo is, sometimes it takes that one person expressing an idea in their unique voice at the right time in the right way for it to actually make a difference. And you are that person for someone.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope this helps you guys move forward as you continue to grow with your content and with your channel. And that's why we do this. Like, we hang out here every week just to help you guys out, because we really want you guys to succeed. And we're cheering you on. And if there's any way we can help you with that, please reach out. Let us know. You can email us team, TEAM, @videocreators.com. In the meantime, thanks for hanging out on the podcast. Subscribe if you haven't already. We've got new episodes for you every single week. Typically, they're coming out on Thursdays now because we got an editor now making them all professional for you guys. So thanks for that, Brian. And we will see you guys again next week for another Video Creators Podcast episode. See you guys then. Bye.